we're already recording. If you could read that, it would be amazing.
I'm
You can say it however you want.
U.S. Senator James Lankford. Do I need to say it that way?
I would love if you would. I will play it.
All right, here we go. I'm U.S. Senator James Lankford, and this is the Elephant in the Room.
Welcome to the Elephant in the Room. I'm your host, Cyrus Pearson.
I'm your co-host, Sophie Delkier.
Our guest today was U.S. Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma. And first time ever, Sophie, what did we have?
We had Mrs. Lankford. We had the senator's spouse on the podcast. It was amazing.
Really cool.
Cindy took the extra time to be with us. She called in, and it was so amazing to hear them interact, get to know her, and just be together.
About halfway through, we even had a couples quiz to test how well they knew each other. That was kind of fun. 3 questions about your wife. Where was your first date?
This one's more complicated than it sounds on it because we've been friends for 7 or 8 years before we officially started dating. So we ran around with the same group of friends the whole time, and it was really fun. So we started officially what we called dating on March the 15th of 1991. That was in Waco, America, but
it was really
definitely
fun.
Stay tuned for that. Now, we did just have a regular kitchen table style conversation with the senator and his wife, so we didn't mention some of the things they do up here.
I hope that everybody loves this one. Senator Lankford is a huge advocate for stopping daylight saving time.
Who wouldn't get behind that?
Right? The winter just gets so dark. We don't need to just...
Unbelievable.
It's
well,
ridiculous.
Here's something that's not dark, the podcast. Let's go. Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma, thanks so much for joining us.
it's absolutely my pleasure to be able to sneak by.
It is our pleasure to do something unprecedented. We have your wife. We've been told to refer to her as the Honorable Cindy Lankford. She told us we can call her Cindy on the phone. Cindy, thanks so much for joining Sophie and me and the senator in the studio today.
Absolutely glad to do it. I'm sitting here in my home with my Christmas tree lights on, looking out my back window with deer.
Oh, we're going to get to Christmas soon.
Yeah, and that's just killing me. I want to be sitting right there with you right now. I'm in D.C.
What are the decorations? Do you have all white scene? Do you use colored bulbs? What do you got going on there?
We are red. We are all about the red.
Ooh, red.
Republican
Red
red.
and sparkle.
This time it's Christmas red.
Yes,
It is
good.
Christmas red. That's right.
Now, we'll get back to Christmas here in a bit. One of the first things is I would just like to close my eyes and listen to your husband talk. I mean, forever. What do you think about his voice? I'm sorry I'm not letting you speak, sir, and show that off yet.
Well, I'm a speech pathologist, so
Oh.
I look at this from a different perspective. I look at it totally anatomically.
Okay.
And he does have a great voice, however.
You guys, I mean, you are notorious. You have been married, Senator, how long is it?
Not long enough.
Okay.
That's how long we've been married. 31 years.
Wow. And we have little birds, to quote somebody I talked to this morning. You've been spotted on the hill opening the car door for your wife, and
of course.
people talk about you guys. I mean, just the ideal relationship here. Cindy, when you met him 31 years ago, was his voice this money?
He's always had this voice, yes.
That's-
I did not know him pre this voice. Let's just put it that, pre-puberty, I did not know him. So,
we met each other our sophomore year of high school, and literally my voice changed between my freshman and sophomore year. I went from talking to people on the phone my freshman year, and they would say, "Yes, ma'am," to me because it was that high.
No
To
chance.
the sophomore year I showed up, and it was this.
Right time, right place. Well,
There you go.
The last question I'll ask along these lines, and Sophie needs this advice. She recently got engaged.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What is the secret to a long-lasting, successful marriage like you two have?
Wow, Cindy, you want to take that one?
I would say, first and foremost, having Christ in the center of that relationship and making Christ your God, not your spouse your God.
Yeah, that is always the big challenge. You just nailed it, Cindy. But it is knowing your foundation, knowing what the solid place is, and being able to stand on that solid place makes a big difference. For Cindy and I, it is really our faith that drives a great deal. And I've been forgiven of much by God, and learning how to actually both ask for forgiveness and to be able to receive forgiveness and to be able to live in such a way that we honor each other in that.
Great answer.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So you're going to be happy, Sophie?
I'm going to be happy.
on.
We're good on that front.
Okay.
Yay.
So actually, I had a question about this. Family is such an important part of your unit. And, I just learned this about you, that your parents were divorced when you were young. And I also come from a divorced family. Same with my fiance.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if, I know this is true for me and a lot of my friends who have the same situation, family becomes such a priority for you in your adult life. And do you think that has a lot to do with your marriage and the family that you and Cindy have built?
It does, actually. For my parents did divorce when I was 4, and growing up, my mom remarried when I was 12. It was a somewhat tumultuous remarriage even in that process. And so for me, I didn't have a lot of good role models to be able to watch. So I remember when I left for college, intentionally finding a couple at my church that I could stare at their marriage and spend time with them and try to be able to figure out, how did this commitment thing work there? Because I wanted to be able to have not just a temporary marriage. When you stand at the altar and you say, I do, it's for life. And you want to be able to do the work that it takes to be able to build that relationship. And though Cindy and I have a very deep, abiding love for each other, we don't always agree on everything every time. And that's okay. That's a normal part of two human beings being together. But she is a gift from God to me and my life, and is a counsel to me like no one else can be. And so that push and pull of a relationship should be honored and celebrated. But it also takes work. We literally, and my life is crazy here. And as Cindy mentioned, she's a speech pathologist and she sees patients back home and all things are going on. But we literally block off an hour every night just to be able to talk on the phone or to be able to FaceTime with each other, because we want to do life together. It doesn't need to be me, I have a life in D.C. and she has a life there.
Right.
Even when we're apart during the week, we want to know each other's days. We want to be able to do life together. And so we're a part of each other in that, and part of our worlds. All right, so we don't have two separate worlds.
Right.
We have our world together as a family.
Well, and it shows, Cindy. I've seen you on Capitol Hill, and whenever I see you two together, I look at you and your interaction, and just you wear your love for each other, and it's so beautiful. I love that you bring her here.
Oh, I love that she comes here. My staff's in a better mood every week that she's here, because they know I'm going to be in a better mood all that week.
Right.
Cindy, let me ask you a question. How hard is it on the spouses to have someone having to go away all the time up here? Is this something easy to deal with, or has this been kind of tough? It's probably not what you imagined when you met him.
It is definitely not what I imagined, but we figure it out. Is it hard? It's absolutely terribly hard. But like he was talking about, we find ways to do it, and you have to make it a priority. But when you know that you've been called to do something as big of a task as this, you also know that God's going to provide all the other things that go along with it. That includes our relationship. And so we have worked very hard. It's not going to happen by happenstance, but we work very hard to keep that relationship strong and to make each other a priority in the midst of utter chaos.
Yeah, we jokingly say all the time, we got married to spend more time with each other, not less.
Right.
And in this task, we did 22 years of youth ministry together, and then to be able to then step away from that to this, where suddenly I spend my weeks in D.C. away from each other. Mm-hmm. It's a different phase of our marriage and of our relationship, but we work very hard. We understand this is part of the sacrifice and the calling and the responsibility, but I want to leave this place as happily married as I came to this place.
Right.
And this place chews up marriages. It just does. The job is so stressful, and it's hard to be able to process. And there's so many people you interact with, and when you go home, you just want to just do nothing. But then I realized my bride is right there, and she's looking forward to me being home. And so several years ago, we started talking about, when I head home, I can't give everything at work, and my wife gets the scraps. Mm-hmm. We can't do that, because we're going to do life together for a long time. I've got to be able to give it all at work, but also to be able to make sure she's not getting nothing when I'm home. It is the adage of always, I'm home, leave me alone. But then she's alone all the time.
Right.
And that's not fair either.
Yeah.
It's something he works very, very hard on.
Well, let's come back to youth ministry right after this. We're going to have a fun little break here. Mm-hmm. Cindy, we did something. We're going to have a couples quiz here, if you're okay with this.
I'm game.
You should be very afraid.
we asked your husband 3 questions about you, and then we're going to ask you 3 questions about him. We already got his answers before we started. So the first question we asked the Senator Lankford is, what is your wife's favorite food?
Oh. I'm not sure I know my favorite food, so
Okay.
that's interesting.
He kind of mentioned that.
I would say dessert is my favorite food.
Dessert. Senator, do you make dessert?
No, she makes the best dessert by far. When I'm making dessert, it's a bowl of ice
But
cream.
if it-
That's what I make.
If it were a actual dinner meal, I would say Italian.
Italian.
Yeah.
His answer was whatever I cook, and she loves everything.
Oh, that's really sweet.
She does love
That's
everything. Yeah. When you said you don't really have a favorite food, I was like, there's every kind of food she likes. So,
Lucky.
I really do, except for sushi.
Oh,
100%.
All right.
I'm with her. All food should be deep fried. So there's no reason to eat fish raw. So, yeah.
All right, second question here. Where was your first date? This sounded a little complicated.
It is a little complicated. I would say our first date was on the bridge in Waco.
Ding, ding, ding. Do you
Come
have a
on.
date for that?
What was the
Oh,
date
he
of
does,
our first date?
though. He knows the first date.
I think you got there. He said March 15th, 1991 in Waco.
Yeah, but he celebrates it every year, and I
Aw.
forget.
you?
It's the Ides of March, and it's a good thing for the Ides of March on it. So, yeah.
I love it.
That is awesome. Okay, final question. What do you think was your wife's favorite vacation?
Oh,
What do you think your wife's favorite vacation is?
I will say your
Not-
husband did answer these in a really unique way.
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. He said your favorite vacation is where you don't see anyone you guys
Oh, that's
know.
absolutely true.
He immediately
I-
mentioned Costa Rica, where you're in the middle of the jungle and there's no one around.
So my statement when we start talking about a family vacation is I don't care where we go. It can be in a swamp in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
as long as we don't see other people.
I love it.
He told us recently you went to Alaska. Did you enjoy that?
We did.
It's a beautiful.
We had a
place.
great time in Alaska.
Beautiful. Okay,
Yeah.
let's wrap this up. We're going to ask you 3 questions about Senator Lankford and see how well you know
Okay.
him.
Well, we didn't do so well. It doesn't.
Yeah,
it
no,
doesn't
no,
you did.
bode well for us.
We'll
But
let the
okay,
audience
here we go.
judge. I think we're doing okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what was Senator Lankford's, you know him as James, his first job?
Oh, okay. So now I'm answering this one too.
Yes.
Okay. His
He-
first job ever, or
Ever.
his first job?
First job
okay,
ever.
Baskin Robbins.
At 14
Ding,
years
ding.
old. There
Ding,
we
ding.
go. We're going to throw
Way
a
to
ding
go.
ding in there. Okay, how does Senator Lankford de-stress? Question 2 of 3. How does Senator Lankford de-stress?
He watches a movie.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he said
Or
yeah.
I can give you multiple things.
Go
he does
for
to
it. He
de-stress.
gave us
Okay.
4.
He gave you 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He works out.
Oh, he didn't. I see that, but he didn't tell me about that.
We go on long walks together.
That's actually very true.
Okay, I'll count that as family.
It is family. And reads.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. He had put down getting away, family, football, and spending time alone.
Oh, spending time alone is accurate.
Yeah,
That's true.
100%. But
Now, when you-
seeing I do go on these long walks where we'll walk 3 or 4 miles and just get out of the house, be around, just to talk, and that gives us an hour just to be out and about.
Cindy, last question for the couples quiz. He gave us 4 answers, so if you can even name 2 of these, it would be great. What are some of Senator Lankford's favorite movies?
Oh, wow. There are a lot.
That's
he
what
only
he said.
gave you 4.
Yeah.
He did not.
Didn't go through all
He
of them.
didn't give you enough. And my problem is I'm horrible at movie names.
Yeah, when
He
we're
said
watching
that.
movies at home, I'm watching the movie and she's on her phone. Well, like, okay, tell me when it's done.
That's totally true. Okay, did you do any series, love?
No.
Okay, so The Hunt for Red October.
Oh, that's definitely on the list.
Okay.
I didn't actually list that one, but that was anything with a submarine is
Okay,
definitely on the
we'll
list.
accept that.
The Sandlot,
Yep, it's right here.
Ding,
ding,
ding.
ding.
Princess Bride.
We're at
Ding,
top of the
ding.
list.
And what's the other one? There's a lot out there.
Any prison movies?
Oh, yes. What is that one
She's not gonna
called?
remember the name.
He watches it all the time.
Shawshank, maybe?
Yes, Redemption. That's it.
Okay. And he threw in The Fugitive as his last one.
Oh, that's true. I did take him when that came out.
Mm-hmm.
I took him to go see that as a birthday present.
That's absolutely true.
Wow. Well, I would say you guys have a highly successful relationship here, and I think they passed the
All
couples
because
quiz.
of movies.
Well, let's get back to this youth ministry. Some of our listeners may not know what this is. This is something you and your wife did together.
Sure.
Can you explain this to us?
Sure, yeah. I did 22 years of youth ministry before we came to Congress. And so this is kind of the radical shift in our life, what Cindy calls life's greatest interruption for us, because that's what we anticipated we were going to do. We were voters, we were engaged, we were passionate about issues. We never did anything in campaigns, anything like that. And in 2009 and 10, God completely interrupted our life and called us to be able to run for Congress. And we spent about 7 months telling God he's crazy, and he spent 7 months saying, come follow me. And so I resigned my position. Cindy picked up extra clients, literally, in speech-language pathology. We lived off our life savings and what she was bringing in during that time period to be able to campaign. But yeah, it was doing student ministry. We did that together, and it was the amazing thing to be able to be able to lead. 15 years of that 22, we led the Falls Creek Youth Camp, and that's the largest youth camp in America. We have 51,000 students a summer that come there each summer.
51,000.
51,000, yeah. And so it's a large place, a lot of staff, a lot of engagement. But we were around those folks all the time and all those students and leading and on the stage trying to be able to help people understand what it was like to have a relationship with God. For us, the prime moment in every person's life is usually when they're in middle school, high school. If you ask an adult in their 80s, what's your music? They will almost always talk about the music they listened to in high school. It's just such a marker in life of that middle school, high school time in so many ways. And to be able to have the opportunity to be able to talk to people about, okay, you're working on your education, you're working on your family, you're working on your strength, all the physical things. Don't forget the spiritual aspect of life, because so many adults even later on look back and say, I worked on everything else but that. So for us to be able to have the opportunity to be able to say to a group of students, hey, don't leave this part out. You got to make a consideration here of what are you going to do in your own spiritual journey, was really a joy for us to be able to do that.
Let me dig in a little bit here, and just in case we can even help one or two people. Faith, you've mentioned, is very important to you and your wife. And for either of you or both of you to answer this, how do you come to know God, or how do you discover that you're being called to that?
Yeah. There are people that will say, okay, did you hear like a voice of booming, thou shalt run for Congress? Kind of, it wasn't like that. It was just this overwhelming sense. If I can, and for people that are on a spiritual journey, I think they'll understand this, but Scripture talks about where Jesus says, I'm the shepherd. My sheep know my voice. They hear me and they follow me. It's not, in some ways it's mystical, but in some ways it's normal. If there's a God of the universe who created everything and loves us, why wouldn't he want to be able to interact with us? If we would take the time to be able to be quiet, to be able to read Scripture, and to be able to listen as well as pray, to say, God, what are you leading us to? When he said, follow me, and he does multiple times in Scripture, I don't believe that means just a set of principles to say, live these values. I think it's a relationship. It's what I talk about all the time. It's the difference between a religion and a relationship. A religion has rules and you follow those rules. A relationship with Christ is really, you are the master and you're the one who's guiding. And that doesn't mean that I can't interact with people that disagree with me. I'm an American who's passionate about every faith and every background. I want to protect the rights of every person to be able to live their faith genuinely. But that also means me, that I get to live my faith genuinely as well. And so while I'm guarding that for someone else, I want to also make sure that I'm attentive to be able to say, God, what are you leading me to? And how can I honor you in my life and my days, and how I actually treat people that I agree with, disagree with, how Cindy and I do our marriage, how we treat our kids. If you've been forgiven of much, and I've been forgiven of much, it's much easier to actually forgive other people. So for me, I started that relationship when I was 8 years old. I actually was listening in church, which if you know many 8-year-old boys is a miracle in itself, that I actually listened in church for once. But I remember listening in church, and I came to this realization moment. There is a God, and I don't know him. I mean, it just started just that simple. And it started me on a journey of trying to be able to think through, okay, how do I go from knowing God exists to knowing God? And does he really care about me? And for me, it was as simple as an 8-year-old boy praying and saying, Jesus, would you come into my life, forgive my sin, and help me start a relationship with you? Literally, that was a transformational moment in my life that has now stretched into now. And honestly, read a lot of scripture, and I know a lot more about a relationship with God now than I knew when I was 8. But I pray that, at 30 years from now, I know even more about God, that I continue on this journey of the God of the universe who is way smarter than I am and way stronger than I am, and who affects things around the world by far more than I do. And everyone sees the Senate and Congress as a place of great power. I was like, actually, I know the one who has the most power, and it's not me, because things occurred that I could never have a hand in and could never orchestrate based on God's own affection for the world.
I love that you separate the two, because there really is a big difference between religion and the relationship. And, honestly, I'm not super religious, but I'm extremely spiritual. And I hear the greater power, like you say. And, even for people who aren't totally religious or even spiritual, a lot of people say they see signs. And I just want to shake them and say, that is the greater power speaking to you.
There's a God who actually cares about his creation that's engaged. I don't believe he just created the world and he walked away. I just don't. I just see his hand in so many places. And yes, there's evil, and yes, there's depravity, and all those things are true. But there's immense good that's out there, and it looks like a plan unfolding that I can continue to be able to see. And and all the pain and struggle that is in this world, because people do dumb things, just 100%. People do dumb things, and it affects other people on that. But none of us are the robot that are just wound out, that God said, okay, you can only do this. We all have a will. And sometimes when people express their own will in a way that is horrible, it affects other people as well.
So with the calling... Oh, go ahead, Cindy.
And it's in the middle of those crazy, tumultuous times of utter chaos and hurt and pain in this world that our relationship with Christ allows us to still have peace. It's peace that's unexplainable, that no one else can get if you don't have that relationship yourself. It's the fulfillment that we are able to have that maybe others are longing for and lacking. And it's all about that relationship with Jesus.
And we don't compel any. Obviously, this is a personal faith decision that we've made. We love telling people about our faith because it's such an important part of our life, and it's been so incredibly meaningful in our marriage and our personal life. But we would never impose that on someone else. That wouldn't work, number one. You can't impose faith on somebody.
You can't make somebody do something they don't want to.
You can't do that. But we can definitely live our life in such a way that we says, hey, this has been a remarkable part of our life and who we are, and we think it's meaningful. And if you want to come join us, come join us.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, let's talk about one of the big celebrations you get to enjoy, Christmas.
Oh, is Christmas coming? Is that coming? I didn't know.
You'll start to notice real soon.
Especially when you're back home in the beautiful
Oh, my gosh. I have to tell you, Cindy has to turn me down on decorating Christmas because I want to decorate.
Really?
I want to decorate for Christmas as soon
100%.
as September comes.
Oh,
when
my gosh.
September comes, it's like I want to start decorating. She has to hold me back like, no, it's got to be after Thanksgiving. We got to be after Thanksgiving.
And he wants to keep it up until February.
That's how I
don't see a
am.
problem
I
with
don't
that.
disagree with
I don't see a
that.
problem.
I don't disagree. We only have about 3 minutes left here. Is your Christmas tree up by Halloween?
It's not because Cindy won't let me.
Thanksgiving?
100%. Thanksgiving.
Okay,
100%.
for sure.
Thanksgiving.
Do you do day after Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving Day or?
Whenever our schedule allows.
Right now
Okay.
it's that, yeah.
I hate to rush through. Let me ask 2 more questions. Any Christmas traditions you all have?
Oh, we have a million Christmas traditions on it.
Share a couple here.
Yeah,
Got a couple.
we have several. So one of the things is that Cindy brought into the marriage is that we actually drink an orange Julius on Christmas morning. That's totally dessert before you start the day. That's vanilla ice cream and orange juice.
I love it.
And that's like how we start it. So you get a sugar rush at the beginning of the day.
That's
Our
amazing.
stockings are always goofy, silly stuff. We do presents that are serious and stockings that are goofy and
Cute.
fun. And we, though our girls are adults now, we still continue on that tradition.
We also read the Christmas story
We do.
that morning, and then
And we sing.
a tradition I brought in is we sing Happy Birthday to Jesus that morning.
Yeah, it's a birthday.
I
Christmas
love
is a birthday
that.
party, so we sing Happy Birthday Jesus, and yeah, there you go. We have a million Christmas traditions.
I might steal some of these
about
actually.
it?
That Orange Julius one I want to get a hold of. Cindy, I want to ask maybe the last question to you. Usually we get to know our guests through conversations with them. We've never been lucky enough to have a wife on the line. What do you think people should know about your husband?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. He's
Easy.
a man of deep compassion. He's a man who is thoughtful in everything that he does. It's not just a show that he puts on. That's who he is. Who you see him as is who he actually is. And he's a man that loves people deeply and is going to show respect, even to the point of maybe not acknowledging himself or giving himself credit in order to respect others. Getting solutions and problems solved is what's most important to him, not getting the acknowledgement. And I think that's a rare thing in D.C.
I agree, and we get to see him a lot behind the scenes, and everything you say rings true. So I think we are lucky to have him
that's kind of
as a representative up here. Any final thoughts, anyone?
No, thank you for coming, and thank you for calling in, Cindy.
Yeah, Cindy,
Thank
this was
you,
a
and Merry
pleasure.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, Senator.
Well, thank you so much for allowing us to be able to join on this, and for me to get a chance to be able to hear my bride in my ears and the headphones today, and is a special treat for us to be able to connect middle of the day. So we'll be talking later on tonight, but it's nice to be able to talk a little bit today as well. It's great to be able to be with you. For Cindy, love you, mean it. Look forward to being home this weekend.
Love you.
Hey, if you'd like to get us a Christmas present, I think we're accepting 2 things, right, Sophie?
You know, at the very top of my list
Yeah?
for Santa,
Yeah?
it's a like and subscribe.
That's it. Those are the 2 I'm talking about. Please help us out by liking and subscribing. The Elephant in the Room is brought to you under the direction of U.S. Senator John Barrasso from Wyoming. Executive Director is Arjun Modi. Show producer is Carly Rapp. And Technical Director is Rashad Smith. Until next time, this has been The Elephant in the Room.